Now with this question, the answer choices are very short and easy to read, so I'm tempted to just look at them as like either true or false based on the chart before I dive into the passage, just to see if there's anything we can quickly get rid of. And let's do that here. So which choice most effectively uses data from the table to complete the text? So we're continuing an idea, there's nothing crazy here. So let's just see what we get. So in A, 6.3% of respondents said it was most effective to use efficient cars or hybrids. Well, here's the 6.3, that has nothing to do with hybrids. Right, that has to do with changing the thermostat. So that's just wrong. 2.8% of respondents said it was most effective to change the thermostat. Well, no, we just said that. So look, A and B are just mixing up the two things. Sometimes it's that obvious why some answers are wrong. So this is why this strategy of just starting with the facts of the chart or the graph is sometimes better than diving into a passage which might be harder to understand. So let's keep going. Let's see if we can finish the job. I doubt it because we're in the hard module, but still. 12.9% of respondents said it was most effective to use a bike or public transportation. Yeah, that seems good. Okay, so that's at least true. I don't know if it's correct, but it is certainly true. And then D, 3.6% of respondents said it was most effective to use efficient light bulbs, and that is also true. So these are both T for true. Now, as much as I think it's easy that we were able to eliminate two answers just by like being like, who would do this? Who would pick this? Who would get the chart wrong and even pick A or B? It seems impossible for anyone to get that wrong. I know what they did. They purposely made those two answer choices so obviously wrong that when you got the choice C, you'd be like, oh, now that one's true. That one must be correct. And then you're going to be too lazy to read choice D and notice that that is also true based on the chart. So if you got this wrong because you picked C, you just didn't read D is my guess. You were just too lazy, and you can never, ever, ever do that, especially on these chart and graph questions. Now, it's still great that we eliminated two answers, but they were 100% setting you up to fail here. So you gotta make sure you read all the choices. Let's now go to the passage and see why D might be a better answer for this question. In a survey of public perceptions of energy use, researcher Shazeen Attari and her team asked respondents to name the most effective action ordinary people can take to conserve energy. The team categorized each action as either an efficiency or a curtailment and found that respondents tended to name curtailments more often than they did efficiencies. Okay, curtailments more often than they did efficiencies. So you can see that middle row that we completely ignored has something to do with that. For example, 19.6% of respondents stated that the most effective ways to conserve energy is to turn off the lights. So that is turn off the lights is here. That's a curtailment. While, so we have a contrast only. Okay, so we want one that's an efficiency. So that's why D is right, because that's an efficiency, right? And C is right here, and that's another curtailment. So we don't want to say the same thing. We've already said the curtailment one. They're trying to make a contrast here, so we need to have an efficiency. So maybe if you had read this first, the passage first, you might have also been able to eliminate two answers very easily just by being like, oh, I definitely need an efficiency, but only two answer choices actually even represent those. So there's other ways to very quickly get down to two answers here, and I think that that's the overall point for these graph and chart questions, is they're not very complicated. It's literally just like reading the thing and what row do we go to, what number is big or small or correct even. So just kind of don't let these bother you. To me, even in the hard module, most of these graph chart questions are going to be very easy points. So if anything, they're ones you should be targeting if you're worried about losing time. So that way you can make sure you maximize your points, because I don't think they take much longer than other passages. If anything, they take less time because we can usually eliminate some answers just by looking at some numbers.